Chapter 5. CVN 77. Part 5 of 5. She couldn't help but think about the warden's nonchalant attitude towards killing prisoners. Have they really thrown Mayans out of the protected prisoners' rights? And what about the ponies who were there? Are they being thrown into the same category because they were helping Mayans? Toon was horribly reminded that she was more than willing to do the very same to the mayor she was about to visit. I have no right to judge the soldiers for doing that. Not when I was going to do the same thing if Conrad and Crimson hadn't stopped me. The warden banged his fist on the bars, jarring the prisoner out of the modicum of peace she had. Wake up! You have a visitor. The red mare within had not slept at all since her arrival. She had been nearly killed twice that evening. First by Alexia, who was disguised as a mustard yellow unicorn stallion at the time, and again by the 82nd until they double-checked that mare's coloring matched the only prisoner they were to bring back alive. She had been blindfolded and tied up and transported to the bush before being allowed to see and move again. The whole way back, she received extremely rough handling at the very people she had been working to erase from the planet and had several bruises and a few possible hairline fractures to show for it. The Pegasus knew it would not take long before the Americans learned about what the lab's primary purpose. To say the mare was terrified would be putting it mildly. So when the warden banged on the door, the mare jumped in her cot and cowered at the corner of her bed. She assumed a beating or some other form of torture was about to occur, and that fear was only compounded when Alexia appeared as the warden left to return to his post. The red Pegasus's pupils dilated enormously at the sight of the silver alicorn. Even in her disoriented state, she took in the silver fur, azure mane, wings, and horn in an instant. She stared at the alicorn in supreme disbelief. Why, you re-dead? Toon fought to keep her irritation for the mare suppressed. Roughed up state or not, she was still a traitor to her species in the alicorn's eyes, both her former species and current one. Whoever you mistake me for, I assure you I am very much alive. The moment Toon's voice hit the red Pegasus's ears, she felt a wave of calm wash over her. She knew in an instant who it was. Princess Alexia. Hope grew for a moment before it was squashed hard by denial. No. No, impossible, you're not real. You died years ago. This was not how Alexia wanted to start her questioning and walked fully into the cell, making the Pegasus shrink even further. The outburst was in Equish, so the government agent knew she didn't have to worry about a language barrier. As you can plainly see, that is not true. Why don't you start by telling me your name? The red mare eyed the silver one frightfully, and only answered to avoid harsh treatment. Birdie Mari. All right, Birdie. Tell me what you did at the facility. Mari would have refused to speak, even in the traumatized state that she was in, but the power of Alexia's alicorn magic loosened her lips and induced a sense of trust. I was a hematologist. The term was familiar to the silver mare, but she nevertheless pulled out a smart pad to write her notes. Doing what? Mari shrunk at the forceful tone which tinted the alicorn's magic to leave a slightly bitter taste in the Pegasus's mouth. It made the mare recoil from attempting to worsen Alexia's mood. I was one of the staff members working to ensure the Yeta strain inflicted minimal damage to the bone marrow during activation. The satisfactory answer made the alicorn unwittingly sweeten the taste of her magic as her mood elevated at the painlessness of her information acquisition. Do you know enough to create a vaccine? Mari's convictions warred with her desire to keep Alexia, and her magic, placated. I don't know. I just worked on damage control, not infection vectoring or incubation. Alexia wrote her notes on the tablet, but made sure to keep eye contact with the red pony so her innate magic would have a constant effect. And what is the incubation period? I don't know. A day or so maybe, she lied. Toon marked the response as questionable and moved on to switch topics to throw the captive off balance. Tell me why you want to participate in specieside. Mari's visage gained some steel and she scowled at the alicorn. Because they constantly kill our kind. I saw a whole pony community rounded up and slaughtered by citizens of Beijing and the guards did nothing to stop the massacre. If the Mayans hadn't shown up when they did, the humans would have killed me too. They told me atrocities like this were happening in every country worldwide, and that the only way to save ourselves was to abandon every scrap of our humanity and join them in cleansing the planet. A dark shadow fell over the alicorn's face. Even if she's exaggerating, I doubt that it's not happening at least somewhere. Even if humans are capable of both great good and terrible evil, this mare just proved ponies are equally capable. Alexia felt it would be prudent to cast doubt on the mare's claims. And you believed that? Verity flinched at the poisonous anger in Alexia's voice. The alicorn's magic felt like it was squeezing her spirit and left her mentally strained. Toon assumed the mare's pained expression was merely a reaction from accidentally poking one of her previous injuries, and the Pegasus fidgeted on the cot. Yes, I do. I saw the videos of slaughter, and almost starred in one of them. There's no way humanity will accept us, so it was either death or join the Mayans and work for a better future. Toon lowered the smart pad away from her face, took a slow breath, and continued with a condescending tone of voice. Have you ever stopped to think that you allying with the Mayans is why humans keep trying to kill you? If you make yourself an enemy, then those that would have welcomed you will shun you instead. Verity averted her eyes as she was unable to meet the alicorn's gaze. I was part of a scholars-in-residence program between Japan and China in an effort to smooth relations between our two peoples. I had been in Xi'an for 3 months when I started becoming a pony. Instead of letting me return to my homeland, I was rounded up and placed in an internment camp. The scientist bit back bitter tears of the memories. Imposter or not, she didn't want to show the alicorn any more weakness. We were not granted basic human rights simply because we are no longer human. If you know anything about the histories of our people, then you don't need me to tell you that the Chinese were cruel to us. They experimented on any foreign ponies they could get their hands on, doing any depraved thing you can wrap your mind around. I never saw what they did with their own citizens who turned into ponies though. Alexia kept a neutral expression while writing in her intent to investigate these claims. If Thompson can help uncover these atrocities, if they actually happened, then we can work towards weakening the Mayans' recruitment campaign. You think I'm dead? Was that more Mayan propaganda? Princess Alexia is dead, Verity replied spitefully. You mock that holy lady with your pitiful imitation of her. Toon's brow twitched and her left ear flicked in heavy irritation. Oh for foo, why do blank flanks always think I'm some kind of messiah? No wonder it's so easy for madmen to successfully claim to be prophets. Even so, I would think a scientist would be above that sort of thing. Through careful control honed over 2 years of both passing off and ignoring others' claims that she was a god, Alexi kept her discontent hidden behind professional indifference. And what, pray tell, does the real Princess Alexia look like then? Verity kept a framed picture of Alexia in her quarters at the Desert Research Station, and the silver mare standing in front of her, with a cool, almost indifferent expression, looked like a carbon copy of her. Even the calming quality of her radiating magic had returned, and it made it difficult for the Pegasus to keep lying to herself. She slowly crawled off the bed to inch closer to the silver alicorn. She looks exactly like you. Her eyes took on a wild quality. Your brand. May I see your brand? Alexia regarded the red mare's shift in demeanor. She's worked on this Yeta strain and probably has knowledge on the Mayan plague itself. If I can get her on my side, she might be able to help engineer a cure or at least a vaccine. I don't see why not. The alicorn turned 90 degrees to reveal her black ink. And it's called a cutie mark. Cutie mark. Mari parroted slowly as realization struck her like a wrecking ball, yet doubt still remained. May I touch it? It be sure it's real. As much as Toon was trying to build trust, the request was highly suspicious. Sure. But if you try anything, I'll toss you straight through the bulkhead. Understand? Mari nodded with her eyes stealing a glance at the alicorn's horn. Yes, of course. The red Pegasus crossed the short distance at a slow pace so she wouldn't make Alexia act upon that threat. She brought her face up close to the black ink and used her hooves to split the fur apart to see if there was evidence of dyeing. Finding none, she sniffed it for trace chemicals, much to Toon's discomfort. That wasn't as awkward as I thought. Her musings were jarred away as the red mare gave Toon's cutie mark a long lick, coating her flank in saliva. She jumped away and nearly hit the side of the cell in the process. "The hell was that for?" Birdie backed off and glowered at the alicorn with intense hostility. "As I thought, you have an enchantment on you. I knew you were an imposter." That produced an irritated eyebrow from the azure-crowned pony, but most of it was from the damp fur that sent disgusted chills down her spine. "What the hell are you talking about, and what possessed you to lick me?" Mari's countenance was the definition of smugness. "I possess an ability to taste active magic. I wanted to make sure you weren't using an enchantment to alter your appearance, and lo and behold you have several enchantments upon you." Alexia snorted with a hint of mirth. "I suspect you tasted my crown's magic." Toon's kinesis wrapped around the necklace and levitated it to a corner of the room away from the prisoner and gently placed it on a pillow that she took from the cot. "This is really going to be uncomfortable, but I need to do this to get her on our side. Tell you what. If you can taste any active magic on me now, then I will tell the Navy that you were a slave of the Mayans and have you released to wherever you want to go. But if you don't, then you must recognize me for who I am." Birdie narrowed her eyes in suspicion. Does she really think she can try to cover up the enchantments? My taste can detect anything. She decided to play the alicorn's game, if for nothing else than to have something to do. It might be interesting to see how much the word of a spy is good for. Toon cringed in revolution as the red mare licked her flank a second time. "Oh damn, that is so gruous. I need a shower, something fierce." A stronger wave of disgust rolled down her spine until the Pegasus's tongue departed. Aside from the fur, Alexia's magic had an extremely potent flavor to it. Yet it lacked the same sweat and sour flavor of active magic. You're really her. You're the goddess Alexia." Toon used her magic to try and pull the spit off her flank rather than let it dry. "I'm not a goddess," she responded automatically. Birdie didn't register Alexia's terse reply as she was still trying to make sure her tongue wasn't lying to her. "But I saw the video. You were assassinated during a speech." Mari slumped against her cot and looked at the necklace. "It looks exactly like the goddess's sole adornment. So, the video was faked? Did the Mayans really lie to me just to keep me from trying to find her?" Alexia saw the Pegasus become lost in thought. Might as well give her time to recollect herself and try again later. After a much-needed shower, she retrieved her necklace and replaced the pillow upon the cot, then she rapped the cell door. "Warden." As soon as the man was in earshot she spoke again. "I'll be continuing the interrogation later today. But I'm done for now. I'll let the next shift know." He waited for her to fully exit the cell before closing and locking it. He took a brief glance at the red and black Pegasus staring wide-eyed at the spot where Alexia had just stood a few seconds prior with a shell-shocked look. Damn! What did she do or say to her in there? Red looks even worse off than before. Probably deserved it anyway. Asterisk. While Alexia trotted off to take a much-needed shower, Conrad found Crimson, Loki, and Gil Highwind embarrassing themselves in the recreation room. Or at least that's what Conrad thought as he witnessed 3 sailors, a marine, and 2 paratroopers petting the 2 mares, who were laying nose to nose on one of the couches, and 1 stallion slumped on a table. The 3 ponies were the very images of tranquility and bliss. Loki practically melted into the cushions as 2 sets of nimble hands rubbed her mane and back. "Could you scratch behind my ears, Phillips?" The strongly built marine looked as if he could crush a boulder with his hands, and would sooner do so for kicks. Yet he was more than happy to accommodate his latest furry friend. "Sure thing, little lady." His compliance elicited a sigh of delight from the green mare. "Oh, yeah. Phillips, I think I'm in love." The paratrooper who was rubbing Crimson's back was bemused by the whole thing. "Still don't know why petting you guys is so relaxing. Feels kind of awkward with you being intelligent and all." Anderson waved feebly at his protests. Nonsense. Humans are hardwired to like rubbing furry critters, and we furry critters like being rubbed. The sailor rubbing her head followed Philip's example and switched Crimson's ears, causing her words to come out as a content sigh. It's a win-win for both of us. Highwind was in a near-zen state at the pampering the two women were assaulting him with. One was petting his head and mane, while the other scratched the fur around his wing shoulders. If I could give you ladies a medal, I'd do it in a heartbeat. The one scratching his back tickled him in a way to make the stallion involuntarily flutter his wings a bit, eliciting a giggle from her. Are you sure the missus back home don't mind us having our fun? Are you kidding? She'd be mad that she didn't get to join in. Conrad left Gil alone and trotted over to try and rouse the mares. Crimmy, Loki, we need to talk. The green pony opened drowsy eyes. Hey samurai! You need to get on this petting thing. It feels amaazing. She drawled out her speech as the mare went limp from the attention. He looked at the four men, who in turn eyed him. I don't think I'd want a bunch of men rubbing me like that. One of the sailors glanced at the others. Can't say many of us would want to either, but he whistled at three female sailors who were playing pool and pointed them at Conrad. The women dropped their game in an instant to walk over. I'm sure they'd love to get the chance to pet you. The brown stallion eyed the eager women with trepidation. He didn't like the idea of being pacified by simple touch, especially from strangers. I'll pass, he responded diplomatically. Loki was barely capable of responding due to the petting. Oh come Connie. This is so, she trailed off as her ability for thinking declined. The first woman reached the brown Pegasus in a hurry. Hey big guy! Heard about the number you pulled during the last op? Those guys are already rewarding the mares, so it's only fair you get the same reward, right? Before he could protest further, the woman presumptively started scratching behind his ears. The effect was immediate. His concerns felt like they weren't so pressing anymore. His ears sagged a little along with his eyes while the mental cotton washed away his worldly troubles. No, I have to help Alexia. One of the other women pulled a chair over and he didn't resist being pulled up into it. Ever since I saw you guys I've wanted to pet one of you. And I have to say, I am not disappointed. Alex, need to help you all can go burn in oh my, that feels good. Try as he might, he couldn't fight the euphoria because he had never experienced it being inflicted by nimble human fingers that easily far surpassed hooves. Any and all attempts to break away were beaten down by the relentless hands that wrapped him in a world of bliss. The real thing that blasted away all resistance was when one of the women found a way to tickle his wings to make him reflexively puff out his feathers. Two of the women found his down feathers just as relaxing to massage as his fur and mane. Conrad laid there for half an hour as his wings were gently scratched along with his mane. This is what I've been missing all this time? Eventually though, the ship sounded a call for shift change and the personnel in the recreation room bid their farewells to the four equines. With the mind cotton fading, Conrad shook his head to clear the cobwebs loose. Holy balls, I didn't think that would be so mind-numbing. I could barely think after they started. Crimson stretched and yawned like a cat while Loki rubbed her eyes with a fetlock. Nothing like a massage with your mates to recover from a mission, right? You said it, sister. Loki clapped hooves with her fellow mare. Highwind eased his feathers back down and hopped off the table to join them. If I didn't already have so much to do, I'd open a bar or something where humans can massage us or vice versa. The mares cooed at the idea. Finally remembering why he had come in the first place, Conrad jumped off the chair to approach his mates. Listen, we have a major problem. Crimson's at ease faded. Why didn't you say anything sooner? I tried to, but I couldn't look. That doesn't matter. What matters is that we need to talk about. He stopped and turned to Gil. No offense, but this is a personal matter. Highwind hummed. I understand. If you need me though, you know I'll be ready to help. I know you will, good buddy. The two Pegasi slapped their wings together before Highwind departed. Conrad waited for him to leave before turning back to the mares. It's about Alexia. She's getting worse. I don't know how, but we have to help her find a way to be at peace with the fact that she'll outlive us all. Possibly by thousands of years. He paused a moment to emphasize his point. No matter how effective we are at keeping her from falling to lunacy, we can't keep doing that from the grave. Loki frowned while pondering his statement. Aren't you the one who keeps telling her not to mourn us until we're in said grave? No, he's right, Crimson answered for him with a cool tone. Just as our Alpha watches over us, so we must do her the same favor. We owe it to Alex to help prepare her for a prolonged life. The Green Mare didn't really need much persuasion to help, only to be convinced that it could be done. Okay, but how do we do that? There isn't a therapist in the world that could help her with that. Except maybe hop her up on a bunch of pills. The stallion tapped his chin in contemplation. Maybe. We shouldn't look to this world at all. End chapter 5. CVN 77.